You're listening to the Theologeeks podcast with Ben Knight and Rob Royce.
Welcome back to the Theologeeks podcast. My name is Ben Knight.
Yes, sir. I'm Rob Royce.
And so, how's it going?
I'm all right.
You all right?
I got my water this time. I'm drinking alkaline water.
I am also drinking alkaline water.
Yes.
So,
because I need, I drank pop.
It's true.
I
and
did
I
it.
had
You watched
pop
me
too.
do it.
Rob and I, we actually just ate. We went and we had fried pickles. We had cheese curds, and we had macho nachos.
You know what goes great with all of that? Cherry Coke.
Or in my case, a diet soda. Because you can't just have
I said
pop.
it before. I'm a social drinker. I told you I would
Very
cut
much
back
so.
on pop, and I have cut back on pop. But I am a social drinker.
It's true. People like both of our wives are like, so you guys went out to eat, huh? Did you guys drink? You're like, doggone right we did. I had 2 Diet Cokes, and Rob had 17 Cherry Cokes.
And everybody's listening saying, you guys have a problem.
We have a problem. You didn't have 17, though. You had 3.
I think the third one I asked her just to go 2 fingers high.
You're like
3 finger length.
yeah.
Just up to here. I don't
with
need
no
all
with
that.
no cherry.
That's right.
So
Because it was the added cherry flavor.
it's true.
Which is bad for you.
But you know what? It tastes good.
It's probably more sugar in that cherry additive than there is in the whole soda.
You're probably right. I don't even want to
So-
think about it, to be honest with you. That's a depressing thought to me.
Yep, no more.
But no, so we're here.
Supposedly
and,
the alkaline water corrects some of the effects.
I don't believe you. Is it true?
It depends on what effects.
That was an awfully long I'm going to say that's a no. That's all right. We're drinking it anyway. Either way, we're drinking alkaline water. That's
It's
what we're
supposed to
doing.
be good for you.
I'm going to take your word for it tonight because that's
Good.
how we're going to roll with this.
All right.
But so far this week, it's a Wednesday. We're recording on a Wednesday, which is abnormal for us.
Very.
Normally, it's a Saturday morning kind of deal. We're doing Wednesday night because that's just how
It's what worked.
That's how as Jim Carrey said in Bruce Almighty, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm Bruce Nolan, Eyewitness News. And
That's the way we're going.
It's the way we're going.
That's where we're going. So, so far, I'm really, I gotta be honest with you. I'm loving the podcast because we've been getting a lot of responses on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and so far, people don't think we suck. So I'm super excited about that.
For that.
So it's been fun. People are getting something out of it. I'd like to think we're getting something out of it.
Totally.
And we're having a good time. We love doing this. Real quick, just to kind of throw this out there.
Okay.
I think last podcast I mentioned that, over social media and on all the podcasts, I've mentioned we do have voicemail.
Yeah.
It's 701-214-6255. It's nice to have the voicemail because we like hearing, hey, you guys are awesome. Hey, you guys stink. Hey.
Love that one.
Go Patriots. I don't know, whatever your voicemail is. But at the same time, we'd love to use it for something more than that. We'd like to use it for, hey, I got a prayer request. Don't need any more information than that. You don't even have to leave your name. Just be like, okay, whoever that was that called at 9:23 p.m. on Thursday needs prayer. Done. No problem.
That's right.
And that's because honestly, it doesn't take up any more space for us to add another person to a prayer list.
No.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. So please use that. Again, I did mention our social media. We have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, we have Facebook. Just look up Theologeeks or Theologeeks Podcast. You will find us. And if you find us...
Cartoon us.
Or what?
Cartoon us.
That's true.
They'll find us in cartoon
They'll find
form.
a cartoon version of us. And we will talk with you on said social media. Well, tonight, we're not gonna spend an hour or two just bantering back and forth. We're going to get right into stuff tonight. Although, before we get into anything super serious, we have to do something that we just have to do.
Oh, I know. Top 10.
We're going to do it right now.
Top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10 list. Top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10 list.
All right, because we are what I would refer to. Well, if this was the 50s, we'd be soda jerks.
Soda
if you will.
jerks?
I believe that's the term.
That's a new one for me.
Soda shop boys.
Oh,
That's how we roll.
okay.
But tonight's top 10 list are the top 10 best sodas, or pop if you're from a
10 best sodas.
And now again, I one of these days I'm going to stop prefacing every one of these, but again, these aren't necessarily the 10 greatest sodas known to man, because on this list doesn't even have my favorite soda. So,
Oh, really? What is your favorite soda?
well, we're going to get to that,
okay,
sir.
okay.
But let's just go right into it.
Let's do it.
What do you think number one is?
Oh man, it depends. It depends on what you.
So
okay.
number one soda. So we're thinking. So number one soda. What does the world say? This is the number one.
Are we
soda?
counting up or down, from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
Well, actually, here's the thing. We're counting from 1 to 10. These aren't in any particular order.
Sure.
But what do you think is the number one?
It's got to be Coca-Cola.
Number one is Coca-Cola. Yeah, it's Coca-Cola. So that's number one. I'll be honest with you. I am not a huge Coca-Cola fan.
Okay.
I drink Diet Coke.
Yep.
That's my go-to if Coca-Cola. And what's interesting is with Coca-Cola, I use Coca-Cola more often to take the rust off of something than I do to actually drink it. So
who's to say that's not what I'm doing when I drink it?
that's true. You're like look right now my stomach lining is rusty.
Well,
I need a Coke.
okay, so I know that anybody who's older, Ben and I are old enough where, if we say we're old, there's people who are old who go, no, you guys are just kids, and I understand what they mean. In a sense, maybe we are just kids.
You're just a young pup.
Right, to older people, but I'm old enough to know if I say I'm using Coca-Cola to clean off the rust when I drink it, I know what I mean by that.
Exactly.
And if you're 20, maybe you don't.
You don't get it. You don't get it, you little whippersnapper. Well, number two.
I just want to say one thing
Oh,
about
no,
Coke here
yeah.
really quick. Unless
Please
Diet
do.
Coke is on your list.
No.
It's not. Okay. Somebody once told me, or did I read it? I don't remember. Supposedly a true fact, can be fact-checked, obviously, but somebody said, you want to know how big Coke is?
How big is it?
Here you go. Diet Coke alone, Diet Coke alone is bigger than the entire Pepsi franchise. The entire Pepsi empire.
Do you know how tired I am? Is you said Diet Coke alone twice in a row, and in my head you were like pitching like a prequel or a sequel to Home Alone, but Diet Coke alone.
This summer,
He's
alone. Diet Coke is alone.
The Diet Coke is all alone in his house. Two people come in. Yes, that's
Hardly the point I was trying to make.
very much so. But that's okay. Number two, though. Here's let's see if we can make another point here. So number two,
Okay.
Dr. Pepper.
Wow, really?
The doctor is in. Well, here's something interesting. I don't know if you know about this. I actually heard about this. I can't remember if this was a year or two ago, something like that. But there was actually a woman named Elizabeth Sullivan, and she's a woman from Texas who I don't. This is bad. This is bad research on my part.
Okay.
I can't remember if she's still alive. I know that she lived to be 104 for sure.
Yep.
And she said the secret to her longevity was Dr. Pepper.
Really?
She actually drank 3 cans a day
Ooh.
for 40 years. And for her 104th birthday, she got a gift basket from Larry Young, who was the CEO of Dr. Pepper Snapple Group. And she also got a cake shaped like a can of Dr. Pepper. And she actually was quoted as saying, every doctor that sees me says Dr. Pepper will kill you. But they die, and I don't. So there must be a mistake somewhere.
She watched her doctors
I'm telling
up and die.
you, it's crazy. Like if you read up on this lady, she was just like, all my doctors keep dying. I'm alive. But yeah, that was her thing. She drank 3 Dr. Peppers for like 40 some years. Isn't
That's
that crazy?
Awesome. I want to show you something really. Listeners won't see this, but I write down these top 10s. Does my Dr. Pepper, my handwriting on doesn't that look just no, take a closer look. Because forgive me for
Number 1 looks like cake.
here, take a look.
Wait, are you trying to hand it to me?
Yeah, take a look.
Man,
because
visual stuff does not work on.
here's what I did. It looks to me like I think my handwriting on there looks just like it does on the bottle.
Really? That's what you're doing? Oh, take that back. All right.
This is there's
Visual
a geek,
gag. Visual gag's excellent.
There's a
for
geek
recording
aspect
purposes.
of geek aspect of the theology.
It does look
Cheeks
good though.
Pod.
I like your Dr. Pepper. It looks nice.
That's all I was trying to say.
All right, number 3. You might find this particular perspiration on a large hill, also known as
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Do you drink Mountain Dew?
Man, I think there was a time in my life where that's all I drank, but it has been a long time.
I barely ever drink Mountain Dew, and I'll be honest with you, this is where I get booze, and I'm sorry, but I prefer Mellow Yellow.
Booze like boo or glug glug glug.
Horrible. No. People saying that that's incorrect. No, I actually prefer Mellow Yellow. I got to be honest with you.
Like I remember there was a time in my lifetime where Mellow Yellow was the thing, and you'll probably be able to figure out where I'm going with this. Where for all of us at a certain age in our life who love Mountain Dew, we had to switch to Mellow Yellow. Can you remember why?
They call me Mellow Yellow.
I think that goes back another generation.
That wasn't it?
Nope. It's not.
That's why I drank it.
Think really hard.
Mellow Yellow.
Why would kids who are we're talking 19...
Because it would calm down their urine stream?
We're talking like 1988 to 1992.
Mellow Yellow. Does that have to do with NASCAR?
Days of Thunder.
I'm dropping the hammer. No, you're not.
Days of Thunder. Okay, yeah. So I was close.
Super cool. That was Tom Cruise's car. He drove for Mellow Yellow. And so if you were a Mountain Dew guy, no, you had to go Mellow Yellow.
Interesting.
You don't remember that, huh?
But
you liked Mellow Yellow. You liked it anyway, you said.
I like it anyway. I'll be honest with you, anybody listening, I've only seen that movie once.
Well, me too, but it's like it was a bandwagon thing. And not that people don't like Mellow Yellow, because you obviously like it better, but there's always bandwagon fans like why do you like the Seahawks if you're from North Dakota? Because they were in the Super Bowl. Same thing. Are we differentiating like Mountain Dew as the type? Like could we go Mountain Dew / Mellow Yellow, Dr. Pepper / Mr. Pibb?
I think you're going to start a war with that kind of talk.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Number 4 though, Pepsi.
So evidently we're not going Coke / Pepsi.
No, they're very different. Well, and here's my thing. I used to be a hardcore Pepsi fan. Hardcore. And I actually switched to Diet Pepsi because I was forming some pretty hefty love handles. So I switched to Diet.
Did it fix it?
No, of course not, because Diet's horrible for you. But honestly, now I'm a Coke person. Like I go Diet Coke now.
I'm sorry. When I write down these brands, to me they look exactly like they do on the can or bottle.
It's almost like you're over there. Here's what I think is happening. I think Rob is like starting to stray from wanting to be a youth pastor and a pastor, and he wants to get into
Graphic
advertising.
artist, yeah.
He's like, hey, look at this. Look at how awesome I am. I think he's hoping that someone who's listening works for an advertising agency.
My Dr. Pepper looks like it does in the bottle. My Mountain Dew looks like it does in the bottle, and so does my Pepsi.
Look, yes, it's very nice. I'll hang it up on my refrigerator when I get home. All right. Number 5, Sprite.
Really?
Sprite. Now here's a question. Do you prefer Sprite or 7-Up? By the way,
oh man, neither.
Really?
This is one where
not a lemon and lime person.
No,
huh?
This isn't my type. Okay. So I was in Jamaica in 2014 with my wife, and boy, if I cannot remember what the version of it they had there, but I actually really liked it. It was I don't remember the name of it, but it was something like Ting, or something like that.
It's a cool ting. It's a feel-good ting. Drink up. It's a mixing ting. Made with real Caribbean grapefruit. It's a refreshing ting. The authentic taste of island life. It's a Jamaican ting.
I don't remember, but I like that better than Sprite or 7-Up. But okay, it's number
Good
5.
story.
All right.
Good story. All right. no. Okay. So number 5, Sprite. Number 6.
Number 6.
A&W root beer.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah. See, I'll be honest with you. This is why this is a subjective list, because I like root. In fact, I love root beer.
Okay.
A&W that's not probably in my top 3, to be honest with you.
What is your top 3?
I love IBC.
Really?
Big fan of IBC. Well, first of all, any root beer that comes in a glass bottle,
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. Any pop in general that comes in a glass bottle, I'm all for it.
okay.
Love it. Number 2, well, I don't know. Well, maybe I don't know, because honestly, there's not a lot of like mainstream, because there's like A&W.
Yeah.
There's Mug.
Yeah.
IBC, I guess, is, you can find it places.
Kind of a boutique. Like it always costs like double.
I'm trying to think what other. I mean, there are our
Barks.
local. So you're getting okay. Hold on. See, we got to move forward. Hold on. Number 7.
Wait, I want to say something about A&W.
No. Well, okay, you go ahead.
Yeah,
What?
no, I'm not going to stray off the into other brands, but I'll say this, like, you know how something you experienced back when you were really, really young, like first impressions, like one of my first memories in all my life was riding around with my parents. I'm just a little kid, and this was back when you didn't have to put your kid in a seatbelt. So for all I know, I'm rolling around in the back seat of their 1976 Cutlass 442, and the one with the 6 tail lights on each side instead of just the 2.
Fancy.
Yeah, and I remember because A&W was something. I think it was like the first fast food restaurant there ever was, and so they were dotted all over in these, little towns. All had them, and there were all these drive-through. They were all, you drive up, they bring out your tray of stuff, and I always remember I had this little tiny glass mug of A&W, and I think for like an extra 50 cents you could take it home, sort of thing. And so some of my earliest memories that I've ever had, I remember drinking A&W root beer. I don't remember drinking water before that. I don't remember drinking milk before that. The earliest thing I can remember drinking was A&W root beer.
You actually saying that actually I had one of those as well. So I must have had the same experience. I don't remember where it came from, but I must have had that experience because we had 1 or 2 A&W glass mug things.
But do you remember drinking
it? Not before milk or water, I guess.
If you were to say, Rob, what's the earliest memory you have of tasting something? In this little town we lived in Montana, there was an A&W and there was a Pizza Hut. And so and it probably is just those things lodged in my head. A&W to me tastes like the way root beer is supposed to taste, and Pizza Hut pizza tastes the way that pizza is supposed to taste. And I know it's because those were the first times I can remember having those things. So
interesting.
So and also another thing about A&W, whenever I get on this thing where like I am giving up pop, I promise I'm not going to drink pop ever again. The thing that always hook and reels me in is like I'll give in and have an A&W root beer, and pretty soon I'm not. No more prohibition on pop.
Pretty soon, Rob's just lying in a gutter, he's begging for change. Like, I need an A&W, man.
Yeah, that's my elixir.
Well, here's the thing. Number 7.
Okay.
Don't you wanna Orange Fanta.
Invasion of the Fantanas.
Checking in can take its toll. Check out Fanta, nice and cold.
Where on earth will they show up next? If you're not having fun, they'll find you.
Waiting for your chance to scream. Fanta helps you beat the steam.
You could be next.
Fanta.
I
got something about that too.
Do you?
I sure do.
Orange Fanta, which I would have to assume. I guess I don't know. I'm gonna make a generalization that Orange Fanta is more of like a world orange drink, or like a world. I know for sure in like third world countries, for sure, Orange Fanta is usually like the drink.
Yep.
Here, I would have to think that like Orange Crush or like
Sunkissed
is probably more You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you
That
mean.
probably has to be more. What is your thought on the orange Fanta?
You actually took the words right out of my mouth. I had never had a Fanta before in my life until I was with a church mission team in Kenya, Africa. And we're there to do some work. We're there to help some village do some stuff. And every day is 93 degrees, and we get back to our guest house. They call it a guest house. It's kind of like a motel. And if you were there, you'd see that it's not what we think of as a motel. But they had a little restaurant there and everything. And doggone, at the end of every day, the best thing there was an ice cold Fanta. And yeah, I don't know if I've ever enjoyed anything more.
In my head, you like walk into a saloon. You're like, "Give me the usual, Bob." And you lay
Fanta.
down. And all of a sudden, you see like a Fanta bottle go sliding down the bar and catch it. Thank you.
No, it was seriously like I don't know if I would enjoy a Fanta here. Like if you handed me a Fanta, I don't know if I would say that's I don't think that's what I've got a craving for. I don't think it would hit the spot. But there in that environment, it was exactly right. I don't know what else to say. But third world, you hit the nail on the head.
Well, that's why honestly, I think I almost feel like the commercial is like, because like, don't you wanna, don't you? And like, never have I been like, man, I really want a Fanta.
That's the only place.
That's never happened to me.
And if I've got, if people who were on that trip with me happen to tune in and listen to this particular episode of the Theologeeks podcast, I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, yes, that is exactly what we thought.
Well, I can tell you this. My thoughts on it are now, Fanta definitely not going to be a sponsor, for sure.
Why not?
Because
right.
Because we're all like, who would drink a Fanta?
Maybe they would sponsor my next trip to Africa.
That would be awesome. Well, in that case, I would. Can they cover mine too?
That would be awesome.
Sweet.
Let's see.
We're going to Kenya. Thank you, Fanta. Number 8, 7 Up.
Oh, no.
Now, here's my thing. Here's my thing with 7. Here's my problem. Okay, something happened to 7 Up.
Okay.
Because I remember as a child. Okay, here's my thing. So when I get sick, when I fall ill, when I am not 100%, when I am not at my best, I like a citrus beverage.
Okay.
But I like to when I don't feel good, when I'm sick, I actually like what used to be I would mix 7 Up with orange juice.
Okay.
Which makes no sense because there's an awful lot of acidity while you're sick. But for some reason, it made me feel better. But I don't know what they changed in the recipe, but 7 Up sucks now. I'm more of like if given the choice between Sprite and 7 Up, I choose Sprite every time. And
there goes 7 Up as our sponsor.
I'm telling you right now, 7 Up not going to be a sponsor of this podcast.
If they said, "Hey, we've got some serious money for you if you promote," no,
you guys
take your Up and you can.
No, you guys are the worst. Like of all the thousands of lemon lime sodas, you're the worst. You're just awful. 7 Up.
Back in the, I don't remember when it was, early 90s, they were doing that Dr. Pepper, what the doctor ordered thing.
What's in is out, what's out is in. If you don't know, well, where on earth have you been? Don't try to sell me, I know what tastes good. We know While the best things always so misunderstood. Just give me what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered. Hey, give me a Dr. Pepper. We want it. Hey.
And these, all the, like, maybe it was just Dr. Pepper. It just seemed like all these soda companies were all trying to come up with their, it's what the doctor ordered. They have a catchphrase along with their jingle.
What was 7 Up? It's what killed the doctor.
Do you remember? It's almost like they were making fun of that trend because they'd, you're going to remember this. They had a guy walking down the street and his T-shirt on the front said, Make 7 Up Yours. On the back it said Up Yours.
That's right.
Hey, I'm the guy who makes 7 Up. I also write the advertising. I just came up with a great new slogan. Make 7 Up Yours. Make 7 Up Yours. Thank you, I appreciate it. Make 7 Up Yours, baby. People just love it. Make 7 Up up yours. Hey, my man, make 7 Up yours. Make 7 Up yours.
Same to you.
Same to me. You see, it's catching on already. Hey, make 7 Up yours, man. Oh, we going global with this baby.
And that's
It's like, hey, back to you, buddy. Back to me.
see, but that's yeah.
I remember that commercial.
I remember that too. Actually, what's really funny is there was actually a Nintendo game.
Yes. With the little red dot.
Spot. It was like Spot or
Yeah.
Spots or whatever. Yeah, that's.
So 7-Up, once upon a time, a bigger deal than it presumably is.
Let me put it this way: I would rather have Slice. Do you remember Slice?
Yeah.
I would rather have a Slice. I would rather have what is like the Kmart version of Sprite and 7-Up that I'm just not remembering.
Oh.
Which is also not going to be a sponsor now that I just called it the Kmart version. Sierra Mist.
I think that's Pepsi's.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Sierra Mist sucks too.
All right.
Also not going to be a sponsor.
Sorry.
Wow, there's a lot of negativity in this room right now. You know what, Rob? Rob didn't want me to say this at the beginning of the podcast. I'm just going to be honest because, like, I can actually feel my eyelids starting to like staple them to like shut. It's 12:30 in the morning of Thursday morning, and I'm exhausted. So I apologize for all the negativity, except for the 7-Up. You guys suck. No, but anyway, number 9, Barks root beer. And here's I bet I'm not the only one. I thought it was Barges. I thought it was BARG apostrophe S.
Okay.
I don't know why, and here's the thing. It's not even like it was like when I was 10 or 11. Like this was like a few years ago. My wife goes, "Why do you keep calling it Barges?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, it's because," she's like, "Barks." And then I was like, "Oh yeah," because remember
Like
they
the
had
dog.
the Barks has bite.
Yeah.
Here we go. The outdoors. The sun bites. Oh, bugs bite. All the great outdoors bites. Hey! Hey!
Only one root beer has bite. Barks root beer.
That bite? It really bites.
Crisp, cold, straight ahead. Barks will have you thinking differently about root beer.
Hey! Barks has bite. Well, you ready to head back? Let's go!
Barks root beer, the one with bite.
That was their thing. I don't know. How do you feel about Barks?
To me, I think that A&W root beer tastes like it's something real. Like it tastes like whatever root beer is. It tastes like it's a real thing. A&W tastes like a real root beer. Another one that does as well is Culver's. If you ever get the Culver's, there's kind of a, I don't know, there's a really rooty taste to it. But Barks tastes like a pop version, like a root beer flavored soda. Right?
Interesting.
That's the best I got.
So
That's all I got.
so in your eyes, Barks is like an imitation of root beer,
Yeah.
but not actual root beer.
You know, sometimes you can go through like a store that'll have when they have, you know, it looks like a chocolate, and you're supposed to serve it as a chocolate, but it says chocolate flavored candy.
Sorry, Barks.
Some people like, okay, if we're in the store and we're picking sodas as a family, like what are we going to have with our pizza or something? And does anybody want root beer? My kids always say, yeah, and they always go for the Barks.
Barks, still better than 7-Up. So,
there ain't no doubt about that.
Still better than 7-Up. Number 10. This one threw me for a loop because I disagree wholeheartedly, but it was number 10. Vanilla Coke. I don't get it. No. As Christopher Walken. Now.
Where did you get this list?
Apparently I found it in a dumpster somewhere because 7-Up is on the list and Vanilla Coke. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna call bullcrap on this list. I'll be honest with you. I'm actually starting to get angry at this list. It's making me angry.
I'm thinking of all the sodas that are left off this list.
I agree. Well, but that's what, there was only room for 10 because that's the
It's
shtick.
the top 10 list.
It's the top 10 list. So here, let me ask you this. What is if you had to pick one soda. Now, my guess for you would be Cherry Pepsi.
Hey, how did you know that?
Is that correct?
Well, it is.
See, we're BFF.
Well, let me, out of curiosity, why did you say that instead of Cherry Coke?
Mostly because every time I see you, you're drinking a cherry Pepsi.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I mean, if you're drinking a soda, you're usually drinking cherry Pepsi. If it's in a can or a bottle, you are drinking cherry Pepsi.
Interesting.
So
I don't remember the last time I actually picked one up in a can or a bottle.
Well, I remember it was raining.
So
it was a cloudy. No, I don't remember. The last time I saw you, it was a can of cherry Pepsi.
It made an impression once upon a time, and that would absolutely be correct.
For me, this is one. This is not obscure necessarily.
Okay.
But
Surge?
No.
Oh.
No. I was not were you excited when Surge came back? I wasn't either.
No.
I was never a big Surge person. I used to drink when I was a kid, but it wasn't like
it faded into obscurity and I didn't notice. And that was fine.
Well, it's like I got super excited when cherry Pepsi. When Crystal Clear Pepsi came back, I was actually super excited. And then I drank it and I became less excited.
It tasted like plastic.
I did not enjoy it. But I will tell you, my absolute favorite at this moment, favorite pop, soda pop, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Reed's Ginger Beer.
Oh, yeah.
I love Reed's Ginger Beer. And for everybody who's uninitiated, Reed's Ginger Beer. So ginger beer is basically ginger ale, but it's not. It's actually brewed. So it's brewed like how you, I mean, it's similar in the brewing process of how you'd make beer, but it's basically ginger ale. But it's Reed's especially is like it has tons of ginger, and you can actually get the I like the premium, which is not actually made with sugar. It's made with honey, and so it's sweetened with honey. And I also like the extra ginger, and that stuff is nice and spicy, and it's very crisp.
Is this like you get this off that truck, right?
You can get it. That sounded so funny. You get it off that truck right out in the alley.
The black market.
Your cousin Bruno brings it over. You know, with them burn CDs, and I don't know what kind of accent I'm doing. No. I mean, yeah,
Southern Russia.
Well, it's. So I hear you.
Southwest.
I hear you're looking for the ginger beer. I have my cousin Ivan over in the alley. He's got your ginger beer. I'm not sure I don't know what accent that was, but no, you can get. I mean, it's quote unquote organic, can be.
Right.
So yeah, it is a healthier soda.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like it. I like ginger beer. Like I love ginger ale, but I like ginger beer because it has a little more bite, a little more like something.
Cool. Is Jones still around, the soda company?
I think Jones is still when I was a kid. Like first of all, when I was a kid, Jones
they were everywhere.
They were everywhere.
You'd never see it in a grocery store, I don't think, or at a place like Walmart or Target.
Although, do you know what used to infuriate me is I would go looking for Jones, and you'd go places, and they would only have green apple or cream soda.
But I liked that because cream soda was my favorite one they did.
I'll be honest with you, I'm a little shocked that the cream soda didn't make it on the top 10.
Sure.
Although I'm realizing now, like, I might be a weird soda drinker because, like, do you remember that stuff Clearly Canadian?
From the heart of Canada's wilderness comes a pure, sparkling sensation in 7 natural and wild fruit flavors. Clearly Canadian. Let the water take you there.
Oh, yeah.
I used to love Clearly Canadian. When it was in the glass bottles, that stuff was delicious.
Yep. Mixed berry or black cherry.
Yes, or blackberry. All good flavors. Clearly Canadian. Loved it. Not so good now. I don't remember the last time I had one, but it was like in a plastic bottle at like a gas station or something. It was not good.
Jones always served in a glass bottle.
Well, and I even did the thing where, did you ever send in and like your own picture?
No, I never did do that.
I did that once.
And
it was in a band that I was in a long, long time ago. And we drank it anyway, and I don't know, probably broke the bottles or something. I don't have them anymore, so maybe a waste. Possibly a waste.
Goodbye, Jones.
But, it's funny because, I love pop. But although I don't get into like the thing of like, I've never had a bacon soda.
I have.
Have you had one?
Well,
how bad was that?
Well, what is the company that does that? I forget. But I did it. You remember Ben and I? He hung out with us at youth group tonight, and I got into conversation with one of my volunteer leaders about this thing that we did called Food Face Off, where we had to challenge the person across from us to eat or drink some weird thing. And I bought a bunch of those sodas for that reason, and one of them was bacon. Another one was corn. You can get a freshly cut grass soda.
And dirt soda.
I didn't find that one. Mustard. Anyway, the bacon one did not taste like bacon at all.
Probably just tasted like evil.
It just tasted like whatever makes soda, they just cranked it up a notch.
Interesting.
Like you drink soda and it's like, oh, that's just too much soda.
Well, that's how I feel about Lay's potato chips.
Really?
Also probably not going to be a sponsor after I say this.
Well, it depends because one of the youth group girls' dads is our local Lay's guy.
Bam! Just found a sponsor.
It's possible if I said, "Hey, Chris, let's. Would you mind dropping off?" I think he'd bring us.
He's going to be fired now. You just said his name. I mean, because of course, Lay's. Of course, the CEOs of Lay's are probably listening to this podcast.
I'm advertising for Lay's, whether they're paying us or not. So
not after this. No, here's my thing. So
right.
Lay's, man, this is so negative. We can't do this late.
No
at
more.
Night. I'm so negative after midnight.
Last late night podcast.
It's like
ever.
I feel like I'm a gremlin. You're not supposed to feed them after midnight because then they turn into like the creepy green ones. This is why Ben should not podcast after midnight. Like the negativity goes from like 0 to.
Have you seen that movie within the last 30 years?
Last 30 years? Well, I think it came out before then, didn't it?
Yeah. It
came out well, that would be 1990. Yeah, it must have.
Oh yeah, it was
that.
like 87.
It's been a long time since I've seen Gremlins. I've probably seen Gremlins 2 more recently, but that's probably been a while too.
Yeah, goodness gracious!
But,
I'm not even sure I've thought about those in the last 30 years.
But now that we've gone from soda to Gremlins to Lay's, let's go back to Lay's real quick. Lay's, like all the new flavors, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's like. I don't know, cheesy French fries, barbecue, crickets, whatever their new flavor. I don't know.
Yeah,
they all taste the same.
Think so?
Like if you try, like I think what was the one? It was like fried chicken and waffles. I tried, and then I don't know some other one. But honestly, they all end up tasting like sour cream and onion after a certain point.
When you know how you get when you're on a road trip or something, there's like certain things that appeal to you where. If you were just going to hang out at home, you might go get something else. For me, my road trip chip is, I like that. My road trip chip is,
Rob's road chip chip.
Is,
road trip. I can't even say it. Rob's road trip chip.
Lay's honey barbecue.
That's not where I thought you were going with that. That is such, I got to be honest with you, that is a real,
I'll just leave it there.
I was going to say that is an insanely, like I thought you were going to like come out guns blazing, like, boom, and like throw out something crazy.
That wasn't
and you were
crazy?
like, you were well, honey barbecue.
What would have been crazy? Dill pickle,
roasted chipmunk. I don't know. Did they make roasted chipmunk chips? I don't.
Sure they don't.
Chipmunk.
Go for Everett.
Just out of curiosity, what are we talking about tonight?
I think this one's up to you.
First of all, here's a giant disclaimer.
The Theologeeks podcast featuring Ben Knight and Rob Royce will, on occasion, feature some hot-button topics, along with some lukewarm-button topics. As such, they feel the need to let you, the audience, know that this is just a conversation. They are simply discussing a topic and providing information so that you, the listener, can make your own decision. While Ben's overuse of the word like and Rob's lack of pop culture understanding are offensive, they mean no harm. Now, back to the podcast.
All right, so anytime we have that disclaimer, it means that we're probably going to be talking about something fairly hot button.
Maybe?
Fairly hot button?
Is understatement.
Maybe a little bit. So basically what we're going to be talking about over the next few episodes, whether it's 2, 3, 4 episodes, we're going to be talking about, we just don't know, but we're going to be talking about spiritual gifts. We're going to be kind of titling it, at least I know one of the episodes is basically sifting through the giftings. So
yeah. But of course, we're talking about the spiritual gifts that you'd find, particularly when people think about spiritual gifts, they're thinking about the ones that you find in 1 Corinthians 12.
Correct. Not spiritual gifts as in like, he's got a spiritual gift of music or
like my brother holds 5 world records in weightlifting, a spiritual gift of lifting weights.
Exactly. So we're not talking about spiritual gift of strength or whatever. Spiritual gift of podcasting, maybe?
I like it.
I like that one. I don't think
know
that's
where to
one
find it in the Bible, but
somewhere in like Second Book of Moses, something like But no, we're talking about basically the easiest way to describe how we're going to be talking about these is there's something called cessationism and continuationism. And we're going to be using those to kind of go through these giftings. So, Rob, what can you tell us about those specific things?
First things first, they're just really broad categories on, and mainly what the words are addressing: cessationism, continuationism. This is going to be really basic, right? Continuationism is the idea that even though Pentecost was 2,000 years ago, even though the church was established by the apostles then, and we're still continuing in the church age and things like that, that we would still be seeing, we should still be seeing those same Pentecostal gifts manifest in the life of believers even today. We're talking about gifts like, and the ones that are kind of in dispute, why we're bringing up the contrasting categories, continuationism and cessationism, is because the ones that are really in dispute as continuing or ceasing, which is where cessing would be the gift of speaking in tongues, the gift of healing, and what was the other one we were?
The gift of prophecy.
The gift of prophecy. Like what are these gifts? What do they have to do with? And so the continuationists would say that we should still expect in the life of a believer to experience the gift of tongues, the gift of prophecy, and the gift of healings on a regular basis as a spiritual gifting. The cessationist, however, would say that these gifts were given to the apostles and those who were in association with the apostles for the purpose of establishing the credibility of their testimony that Jesus raised from the dead. They were the view looks at Jesus as being objectively miraculous. So he's the Son of God. He has miracle-working power. He promised the disciples that they, too, would do things like he did. And so for the time that they were establishing the church, in those early days of establishing the church, immediately after Pentecost, they had the same kind of giftings that Jesus had in order to bring credibility to their witness so that they would be viewed as spiritual authorities in the church. And then a cessationist would look at... they would say that even the apostles saw these gifts going away, even over the course of their ministry. The cessationist believes that they would have only expected those gifts for a time, and then the gifts went away. I mean, all of them, all those gifts that we're talking about: gift of tongues, gift of prophecy, gift of healing, and then that was it. That was the age of the apostles. That was the age starting the church, and that we should not expect these gifts to be present in the church anymore. But like I said, both of those are very, very broad. You can get all kinds of different. I should say cessationism is a lot less broad than continuation. That's just kind of a nutshell.
Well, and one of the things, so what's interesting is I was thinking about saying this on one of the other podcasts, but I think one thing that we can throw out there, since we're talking about cessationism and we're talking about continuationism, one of the things that Paul actually says. So basically, Paul answers the question about all these things. And again, this is not my opinion. This is not Rob's opinion. This is coming straight from the Bible. And this is actually from 1 Corinthians 13:8. And Paul says, "Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away." So Paul is saying right there in to the Corinthians, like, all these things that are happening, the speaking in tongues, the healings, the prophecies, one day these things will not exist anymore.
Well, and really it's going to be a matter of how do we interpret what Paul is saying, because if you read a lot of times, we as Christians, we parcel out Bible chapters, forgetting that they have something to do with the chapters around them.
Correct.
We do that all the time. And or even if there's a heading on a particular, could be within a chapter, and we tend to forget that the heading is put in there by a person, not by the Bible writer, and the chapter breaks are put in there by a person and not a Bible writer. And we might look at 1 Corinthians 13. It's typically viewed as a love chapter. You see it in weddings and boyfriends and girlfriends trying to Christian boyfriends and girlfriends, teenagers or whatever, trying to use it as the Christian version of Sweet Little Nothings.
She gave me a note with Corinthians in it.
Love never fails.
I know I just met her yesterday, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna be married.
So what does Paul mean? Does Paul mean and on the face of it, I'm going to say this is up to interpretation. Is he saying that they're actually within the church age, are we going to experience a time when tongues, prophecies, and knowledge pass away? Or is he trying to say that at the end of all things, when all the world ceases to exist and Christ comes back, the great apocalyptic whatever, and all there is love? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying that even within the church age, we should be expecting these things to come to an end? And so that's going to be a matter of interpretation. And there's a lot of other places we can go to support or refute. We're going to do a lot of that over the next couple weeks. Today, we're just going to talk about cessationism as a thing. We're going to talk about continuationism as a thing. And we did geek out for like a half hour just on pop, so we probably won't get too far into all this.
We won't get real far into it, but we did want to kind of set up where we're going. That way you guys have an idea of where we're going with this, how we're going to be, laying out each of these spiritual gifts, and how we kind of want. Again, we're just putting this out there again, like we've always said 100,000 times already in 8 or 9 podcasts.
Yep.
We're just having the conversation. We're just putting the information out there. We're putting the questions out there. We're taking information from the Bible to either, whatever your opinion on it is. It may strengthen whatever you already thought, or it might change your mind.
Refute it.
Yeah, and it's more just the overall thing is just basically taking all this information and just hopefully, making it easier, better.
I'm perfectly okay with challenging any viewpoint. Like I might believe a thing, you, Ben, might believe a thing, our audience, any given audience member might believe a thing, and have all these different reasons. But if it can be challenged, well, then we should challenge it, and either end up stronger or completely switching sides, or I don't know what's going to happen. But if I can envision just a little bit, maybe we take each of these individual spiritual gifts that we are going to talk about over the podcasts that we talk about them, and we can look at them from a cessationist point of view, we can look at it from a continuationist point of view, but ultimately we're going to look at what the Bible has to say about it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And that is the main purpose of this. It doesn't really matter what my opinion is. It doesn't matter what Rob's opinion is.
Not at all.
We're not trying to do that. Basically, we're taking what the Word of God says and we're just applying it to these questions. That's it. That's it.
So I said a little bit before here that cessationism isn't as broad as continuation, and it's not. Cessationism is you kind of lock that one down, like when you say, if you were to take Paul's words literally in 1 Corinthians 13:8, that we should expect these things to cease, well, then they ceased. And therefore the cessationist will take claims of spiritual activity within the church and just about throw them out the window, like, nope. And that's what, if anybody knows a cessationist and you've had these kind of conversations, you'll know that's typically what they do. It's like they're all from Missouri, for instance. Missouri, I don't know if it's the show me state. Prove it. And
shout out Missouri.
Yeah, I think we have listeners in Missouri.
The state of Missouri, also not a sponsor.
Correct, but it is the show.
Not the whole state, anyway. I don't know.
The whole idea that you got to be able to prove this to me, and a cessationist also doesn't typically put any trust in experience. Like a believer might say, well, I have these experiences, these spiritual experiences. The cessationist will not only say, prove it to me, but they're not looking for you to personally prove, like, oh yeah, you want to see me speak in tongues? Here, I'm going to speak in tongues and I'll prove it. No, the cessationist is going to say, prove it to me out of the Word of God, that this belongs in the Christian life, that this belongs in the church today. And that's pretty much going to be their position. It's not really that broad. However, continuationism, I think it's very safe to say that within continuationism, you will find we're typically called charismatics or Pentecostals. And though every Pentecostal or charismatic is a continuationist, not every continuationist is a charismatic or a Pentecostal.
See, and I'd be interested to know, I would also venture to say there's a lot of people that are listening, or even people that we know, who are actually more cessationists.
Okay.
In as much, so I'm mixing the two, in as much as they believe that either some gifts have ceased, and all gifts will cease, but maybe there are still healings today. There are still maybe prophecies today. There maybe are still those, maybe not in the way we think. Like maybe it's not an entire church speaking in tongues, but maybe there are these spiritual gifts that still happen. I'm kind of on the far. I mean, if I can inject my opinion a little bit in that,
sure.
I have to believe that somewhere, possibly, some of these things do still happen. I don't know. I can't say 100%. And that's the way I kind of am with a lot of the stuff in the Bible, where there are things that are ironclad.
Okay.
I do believe that 100% Jesus died for my sins. I believe there's a God. Those are things that I do not refute at all, because I 100% truly believe them.
Yep.
For me to say that I 100%, without a doubt about it, believe that there are no longer any healings at all, I have a hard time with that.
Well, and see, I think let's just be really fair to cessationism, to people who hold a cessationist view. That I don't know if I've ever actually talked to anybody who's claimed to have a cessationist view that says to not expect anything miraculous.
Yep.
That's not the same thing. Like for a cessationist, the criticism that usually comes at them is somebody will say, "Oh, so we shouldn't even pray for healings." No. A cessationist, of course you should pray for healings, because whether it was in the Pentecostal age or whether it's, in the far future from now, it is always God that's doing the healing work. And we're going to get into this later. It really has to do with over the course of redemptive history. There's only a few points in time over redemptive history, church history, or I should say biblical history, where miracles even occur. It's a very rare thing that an actual miracle will occur, and it's even rarer that they'll occur in clusters and that there's a miracle worker possessing the power. The cessationists are quick to point out that some of these would be Moses, for instance, had miracle working power, and you don't read in the Bible anyone up until then that did that. He had been given a gift of miracles that, and for reasons we'll talk about, authenticating the message that God had to bring through Moses. He is an anchor point in all of Old Testament, the Bible, even in Jesus, when Jesus was in his ministry, referring to Moses did this and Moses did that. He's the fundamental, foundational spokesperson representing God's holy law. He's the one who God brought his holy law through, and all of the miracles surrounding Moses would have been to establish and authenticate the law, not Moses, but Moses being the spokesperson for the law and came with miracles. Elijah and Elisha, in a similar way, introducing the age of the prophets, would have miracle working power. Not of the other prophets didn't have miracle working power, but Elijah and Elisha, the first two, had them like at their fingertips. They're making the Jordan River part. They're making fire come down from heaven, and the woman with her jar of oil and her flour thing filled up miraculously every day and stuff like that. That they had this kind of stuff at their fingertips. And then this whole big expanse of time, and then there's Jesus and his apostles, who also have a similar miracle working power. Yet in between, there are miracles. A miracle happens here and a miracle happens there, but not attached to a person the way they are in these big transitional ages. And so the cessationist identifies that and will say, no, a miracle can happen. We want to pray for God's miracle working power, but would never presume that that's attached itself to a person at this point in redemptive history.
Well, and the thing is, in this time, and again, we'll talk about all this stuff in the episodes coming up, but, when Jesus was performing all these miracles and all these healings and things that were happening, it was to establish his ministry. It was to give, credibility to his ministry and who he was and who the apostles were.
Yeah.
And so, as these things are happening, it's just the people are going, oh my gosh, truly he must be the Son of God.
Right.
And sometimes, the scripture where he's talking about, you will do greater things than I will.
Yes.
I think that gets confused in a continuationism or continuationist viewpoint, because they go, well, clearly it says right there that we will do greater things. So clearly we're going to be able to do all these miracles. We're going to be able to perform healings and prophecies till the cows come home or whatever.
Right.
But again, that's, it's different. Otherwise, and there's a reason too. Well, again, Jesus uses these things to establish his ministry. There's a reason why throughout the rest of the Bible, it's not people that are, again, like Rob said, it's not people that are performing these miracles. It's these miracles are just happening. So it's because it's in God's timing. It's when God wants to do it through whoever He wants. It's not just, you know, Billy Bob, and he's like, and Billy Bob's like, well, I healed that person. It's like,
right.
well, no, maybe
you might have prayed for healing and it happened.
Yes, but it wasn't you. It was God who actually performed the miracle. It wasn't Billy Bob, which that'd be interesting if there was a guy named Billy Bob in the Bible, but
not any that are written into the Bible. Okay, so I think we're probably going to leave it here pretty soon here, but because we're like Ben said, we're going to look at the individual spiritual gifts from looking at it from these contrasting categories: cessationism, continuationism. Maybe just a couple more words about continuationism.
It's hard to say sometimes.
It kind of is sometimes, and then cessationism. Let's consider James 5 has a passage, for instance, where where James instructs the elders to go and pray over people who are sick. And the instruction is pray over them that they may be healed. All right. So James would have written this epistle in a time when a cessationist would say that these tongue gifts, healing gifts, and prophecy gifts have ceased, which is kind of an interesting thing that if that's the case. So even a cessationist would say, well, then you should. Elders of a church or one Christian to another should go to those who are sick and pray that they may be healed. So maybe one of the gotcha verses against cessationism, James says to go and pray for their healing. Actually, a cessationist would embrace that as a practice of the church, believing that the Lord does have the power to miraculously heal. Well, right, and so so we can't necessarily take a verse like, you know, a passage like James 5 and go, see, the Bible refutes cessationism on its face. It doesn't, because even the cessationists will want to see God's healing power when it's prayed for. And then we also, just really briefly here, because I don't want to take forever on that. I'm saying that because I totally could. I don't want to take that much time to explain, but a lot of times people mix up the word miracle with providence. And I'll just really briefly say that a miracle is something when God interrupts for just a moment the natural course of things, like just the natural sequence. A flower is put in the ground, or a seed goes into the ground, it sprouts, becomes a flower, and blooms, and then it dies, and all this stuff. A miracle, for instance, would be where if a flower were to grow there and no seed was ever planted. Of course, I'm referring to even just the miracle of Jesus' miraculous conception in a virgin, right? And so that is a miracle in the sense that it cannot physically happen. Now, once the miracle is underway, then nature takes back over. So it's not like it's outside of nature. It's not like it's foreign to nature. As soon as Mary, for instance, conceived Jesus by the Holy Spirit, that was a miracle. But once she had the baby, and once Jesus was conceived, then the pregnancy went totally normal. And so nothing else about Jesus' life, as far as being a physical human being, was miraculous. Just that conception part. So C.S. Lewis will point out in the book Miracles that nature knows what to do with a miracle. Like it fits in with nature's DNA, for instance, can handle the fact that a miracle happens. So it's not outside of nature. People might think, a miracle is something outside of nature. No. It's just something introduced into nature that nature then takes hold of and goes with. Whereas providence is still the working of God, just the same way that God works a miracle, but he's using the natural course of things in order to accomplish something. So if you were to say, well, I'm going to pray for your healing. Let's say you are healed. Was it a miracle? Maybe. But it also might have been God using all the natural processes and maybe sovereignly, maybe providentially, beneficently, I don't want to say beneficial, but in his benevolence, maybe speeding up a natural process or somehow allowing your body to use more natural processes for healing than and these would be providence, that God's natural order of doing things, and he guides that just like he guides a miracle. And so anytime somebody's healing, but that was natural healing. Well, it's no less God, and it's no less because you prayed for it. He's not granting your prayer request any less by using providence than he is when he uses miracle. So just a couple of little, those are like some of the nuances that catch us. The word miracle might throw somebody when what they really mean is providence. So just clearing that up a little bit.
A little bit. So we'll leave it at that for this episode. So you guys know where we're going with it. So we're using cessationism. We're using continuationism.
Or maybe they don't know where we're going with it.
You never know. It might be one of those things where we're going to throw everybody for a loop. We might even throw ourselves for a loop. Who knows?
Well, when you're talking about spiritual gifts and charismatics and cessationists and continuationists, let's just say you never know what to expect.
No idea.
And that's part of the point.
It's just going to be a giant crock pot full of something. We'll see what happens.
Oh, man.
But, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, follow us, check us out. You can go to our YouTube. Definitely send us an email.
Totally.
thetheologeeks at gmail.com. Also, voicemail. Still throwing that out there.
Still got a voicemail.
701-214-6255. Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Rob, is it time to go home?
Yeah. And I know people might be thinking, we can't leave us there, but we're going to.
So tune in, same bat channel, same bat time.
Same craziness.
Same craziness. This has been the Theologeeks Podcast. My name is Ben Knight.
I'm Rob Royce. So what you're saying is like you're kind of like a cessationist, but not in like bold black letters. You'd be either a cessationist or a continuationist, but either one in kind of like gray letters.
So it's not necessarily even gray. It's more that like with basically cessationism and continuationism would be in bold, and mine would be like the Comic Sans font without the bold or something like that. So somewhere in between, because
none of this Times New Roman stuff.
No, Times New Roman, way too serious.
All right. Well, I might try to deliberately come across in all of this as like being totally like Ariel, not the mermaid, obviously.
I don't see how a world that makes such wonderful things could be bad.
Or what's this one they use now? Like the Microsoft one is Capri. You've seen that one?
I've never worn those.
No. Yeah.
Capris? Wait.
Yeah.
No, wait, what?
I'll just be kind of a vanilla oatmeal font. Okay, so actually, anybody in podcast land who's listening, I almost wish we had like merch, because I would want to like offer a prize to anybody. I'm going to do it the best I can to not, for as long as I can, to not reveal. This is going to be my personal game with you and with our podcast listeners, to not necessarily reveal my actual standing on these things, and see if anybody can say, aha.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Rob is a...
I'm throwing down.
Are you throwing down a serious gauntlet?
I don't know. I don't even know if I should do that, because there might be something that I won't lock myself into it. How about?
Be like, I'm not saying like, it's like, if anybody, now people are really going to be listening to see if like, well, Rob's clearly a cessationist, so what do I win?
Well, and if you, right, exactly, and maybe we'll figure something out, but I actually kind of want to do it for myself, to see if, if kind of dare myself to, if you as the listener cannot tell if I've got like seething venomous hatred against cessationism, or I've got my eyebrows raised in some suspicious way to continuationism, to see if maybe that comes out, or maybe it doesn't come out. My goal is going to be like facilitate from as neutral a position as I can, and just tell you what this view is, what that view is, and here's what the Bible says. And
interesting.
If you can spot, listeners, just a game. It doesn't matter.
So I won't give anything away, but you do twist your mustache whenever you talk about cessationism. I don't know if that's a clue or not, but
my diabolical scheming.
I'm a cessationist.
But I'm detecting from you at least here that if it's continuationism or if it's cessationism, either one would not be in bold print. It'd be maybe in like light gray.
Well, as Ferris Bueller once said, I don't believe in an ism. Isms, in my opinion, are not good. A person should not believe in an ism. They should believe in themselves. Or in my case, I would amend that to, I do not believe in an ism. I believe in God. So I don't worry about the isms.